Come on, come on. There it is. We are live, baby. We are live. Everybody stream on in, my friends. We have an excellent show for you folks today. I'm super excited for this one. So, before we get things started, welcome to Avalanche Live. And today we're talking about how Even is transforming how fans are reaching their artists, and flipping the script on traditional streaming by empowering artists to sell directly to their communities. With chart-stopping stars like Lecrae, J. Cole, and Smino embracing the platform, Even is scaling impact with a custom Avalanche Layer 1 built with AvaCloud. Today we're gonna unpack why the team chose Avalanche, how this shift benefits artists and fans, and what the future looks like for music creators when they own their moment. And to help with this, we've gathered some absolute stars, my friend. First off, I'd like to introduce Jacob Svengross, BD Manager, Consumer Enterprise over at Avalanche. Say what's up, my friend.
Hey guys, happy to be here. Super excited about this one. For context on myself, I work for Avalanche on the business development team, focusing on our consumer enterprise group. Mostly use cases in the sports, media, entertainment, and kind of brand retail verticals. So Even is a super exciting platform that we've spoken about in the past, but we haven't kind of dove too deeply in a kind of an environment like this. So super excited, and obviously excited to jump into some more specifics with Brian and Lecrae and what's coming from there. So that's it for me.
Dude, I'm super excited as well. Very excited I'm going to introduce Brian Richard Griffin, your digital operations manager for Reach Records, providing the perspective from the Reach Records side of things. Very excited to hear kind of the independent artist side as well as the record label side. But say what's up, my friend.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm digital operations manager at Reach Records, the independent label owned by Lecrae, Grammy-winning Lecrae, and we're just celebrating our 20th year in business as an indie label. So we're really excited, just so excited to continue to create core fan activations, looking for new ways to monetize. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you so much for being willing to pop on. I'm also joined by the man, the myth, the legend here. We got Mag Rodriguez, CEO and founder of Even. Say what's up, my friend.
What's up, guys? Happy to be here. Nice to meet everyone. I'm Mag. I'm the CEO, founder of Even, and these days a glorified intern at Even. So excited to talk all things Even, fandom, how we're supporting our artists and label partners, and ultimately creating experiences for fans. So yeah, exciting. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being willing to pop on, my friend. I'm not gonna tease our audience too much, man. I think this one's super exciting, so we're just gonna start diving straight into this thing. If that's okay with everybody here.
Let's do it.
Let's get it, baby. All right, so Meg, can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to build Even specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I was a manager for a long time, so I always make the joke that I'm a recovering artist manager these days. So got started really young, straight out of high school, managed two of my classmates, and had a lot of success really early on. And this was the beginning of like the streaming era really picking up. So this is 2012 to 2018 is when I was a manager. And I think what streaming has done for music has been incredible in the sense that the distribution model really worked and it built itself within the rails of the music industry. But we projected, or at least I had my thesis initially was streaming is going to hit a ceiling. And there needs to be more ways to monetize music beyond just streaming. And 3-4 years ago, people looked at me a little bit crazy because, at the time streaming was growing by like 10-12% year over year. And now we're entering this phase where we now know officially that streaming is hitting a ceiling. And a lot of it was that this bet that global fans weren't going to adopt streaming in the same way that Western markets. So that was the initial thesis. But I think when we remove that, because I don't want to get super technical, there's a clear gap, right? Not all artists are making money from streaming. Actually, 8 out of 10 artists don't make any money from streaming. So that's one side. Labels and distributors are all chasing the exact same piece of essentially this one pie. And ultimately, their job is to service their artist partners and really build sustainable careers around them. And they need new models to be able to essentially build and grow those businesses. And then fans ultimately aren't happy right now. We've seen the drama on social media around like buying tickets to your favorite artist or getting access to merch. It ends up in resale markets. It's really hard to like really create a layer where the fan feels like they're buying something directly from their favorite artist, which is really how it should be. Not to say that retailers shouldn't exist, but ultimately, if I give you $100 and I say, go buy something from your favorite artist, it shouldn't be virtually impossible to do so. And that's really why we built Even. We wanted to make sure that we built an infrastructure that ties into the industry. We're not anti-label, we're not anti-distributors, we're not anti-streaming. We're really about building a new parallel economy that the music industry has needed, not because the industry needs to figure out more ways to make money, but ultimately because fans need new experiences and they also are craving that access to their favorite artists. So hopefully that's not too in the weeds. Honestly, the easiest answer is like we saw an opening in the market and we felt like we were the right team to build it. And fast forward 3 years now since, it was an idea on a piece of paper, the industry's really been giving us support. And we get to work with incredible teams like Brian, who, has been an innovator in the space. He might be humble, but he's been building these experiences from scratch. So for him to be able to have, a tool like Even in his back pocket now, it's really what we're doing. So an honor to be here. And of course, to talk about also the incredible release with one of my favorite artists, Lecrae, I think is incredible as well. So just wanted to throw that in there as well.
Actually, like, since you mentioned Brian, like having the Even tool, like in his back pocket, Brian, I got to shift it over to you now. Like you got this tool in your back pocket. Can you tell me, like, how did you first kind of come across Even?
Yeah. Well, I think so we're in the Christian hip hop community. And so, DD as our senior vice president of digital and marketing kind of got connected with Mag through, a mutual friend, business partner. And, it's been a great relationship since then. I know we've been wanting to activate something for, I think, years now. And it was Lecrae's upcoming album Reconstruction that's dropping in this month, actually later this month. That we felt like it was the perfect opportunity with Lecrae's audience shape to really activate on something like that. And so we've already at Reach Records, we've always been really forward facing about new tech that empowers and builds deeper fan relationships. And I think as direct to fan it has always been around, but is becoming more accessible with tools like Even. I think that we were just excited to innovate and be on the leading edge of that, thanks to Mag and his team. And so, for us, it was like one of the core pillars of this marketing rollout for the album itself is to re-engage lapsed listeners, because Lecrae's been doing this as long as the label has been around for 20 years. And so looking for ways to connect with those fans throughout the years and bring them back into the fold and into Lecrae's world is like Even has made it so easy and so accessible to be able to do that on a high scale.
And for the folks out there, we'll dive into like how the artist is kind of using Even to kind of connect deeper with the fans, the different use cases. We'll dive into that a little bit later. But before we do, I wanted to talk to Jake really quick. I want to pitch it over to you really quick, just so you can talk about why is this so exciting from like the Avalanche kind of perspective.
Yeah, for sure. The relationship with Mag and the Even team goes back to a few years to when, I was looking for what are the best consumer products that are utilizing blockchain technology. I had found Even and seen what the product was doing and wanted to chat with Mag and team and see, how we could work together. And so, fast forward to 6 months ago when we finally announced, a partnership with the team that they were building on Avalanche. The thing that really stood out to me was, number one, they were building towards, kind of mass scale in the sense of extracting away all of the complex, technology that typically, has been around from kind of a Web3 native side, whether it's, seed phrases or wallets or things of this sort. That was really important. And it was clear that the Even team understood this and had a product vision to support that. And then secondly, meeting Mag and team and understanding just where they come from and kind of the understanding that they have within the industry and the connections to really come from the right lens to lead a product and provide value for teams like Reach Records and Brian. It was something that we thought was very, foundational to kind of see that success. So I'd say those things are what really excited us about the Even team and platform from the beginning. And clearly it's coming to fruition in the sense of all the partnerships they've launched, the roadmap, how they're even starting to lean in a little bit more on the technical side to kind of provide better experiences and features for teams launching. So like you said, Ravi, we'll get into a little bit more, but I'd say there was a lot of foundational pieces that made it really exciting to work with the team. And a lot of that is really starting to come to fruition with growth.
100% agree, my friend. 100% agree. And Mag, earlier, I do want to pitch it over to you. I'm going to pitch it back over to you. I know you had said earlier that, artists are not all artists are making money specifically from streaming. And so where do you feel like artists are kind of losing the most value in today's kind of streaming first system?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is tied to art in general is one of the industries where in many ways, like monetizing your art is seen as kind of like a thing that you shouldn't be doing immediately. And I think that's just based on like the value that I think society has put in art, where like it's such a core part of our lives, but for some reason it's like frowned upon to like sell your content. I think social media has made it so accessible to like just digest art, where like whether I'm making a new song or doing or painting something, it's like the immediate reaction is just like give it away for free, right? And I think for me, I've always been a big believer that like artists ultimately are small businesses, whether it's like an artisan small business or a global scale enterprise. And I think along the way, artists deserve to have the opportunity to monetize in a way that feels fair to them and also feels fair to their fans or their community, right? And I think, when we talk about even like fandom as a company, we always really lead with the word community, because that's ultimately what it is. Whether you're an everyday emerging self-releasing artist and anywhere in the world, right? You have a community around you, whether it's 5 people, 10 people, 50 people, even if it's your friends, family, and just immediate community, there's a community there that is willing to support you. And the conversion measure should be ultimately in dollars and not in just engagement and likes, comments, and streams and these vanity metrics. Because ultimately, if you have 50 people who like love you and love your music, a 50 monthly listener metric doesn't really show the value of what these 50 people really care about your content. Because if you put 50 people in a room, it's a packed room. So I think for us, it was really about starting there, right? When I started building Even, I never imagined that I would be working with artists like Lecrae. I think for me, ultimately, it was about building something that can be sustainable for the artists in that bottom, 86%, that ultimately need funds, they need resources, they should be able to monetize. And social media also has a ton of pros, where like now you can reach the global masses overnight and you can go viral and create those communities. And Even offers a turnkey solution that allows them to monetize without asking them for money first. I think one of the big issues that I saw within like the direct to fan world is there's always like a give me first before I help you. And that's why our model at Even is free. It doesn't matter if you're a global superstar or an emerging artist. It doesn't cost you any money to use the platform. We only make money when you make money. And we do it in a way that's very transparent. We hand over all the data. They can see every step of the way how they're generating revenue, who is processing what transactions, how much it costs Even to have those transactions. So I think ultimately for us, it's really about building something that's intentional. And I think that's why it has resonated. And I love that the first day that I met Lecrae, he walked into the room and he walked in and he was preaching about another artist that was using the platform. And the first thing that he said was like, whatever you guys did with La Russell, inspired me. And like, I want to be able to build something that can resonate with my community in the same way. And I think that sets the foundation of like, ultimately the way that people view Even. It's not like we have crazy marketing budgets. We don't even necessarily have a marketing team. I think for us, it's really about, finding people who align with our mission and vision as a company. And, I'm excited that every day we get to work with some of those incredible teams. Hopefully that makes sense. I know that was a lot of info.
No, that made complete sense, Mag. And just real quick for the people out there, you said something really profound, and I just really want to spotlight it really quick. For the people out there, Mag said that saying the metric that 50 people listen to an artist per month is not showing the true value of what that artist brings, because if you bring 50 people into a room, the room looks packed. I think that's such a beautiful perspective, especially when we enter into this world as artists who, let's say this stream right here does a few hundred. Like that's a huge room. But sometimes artists see all these, they compare themselves to, let's say, maybe a bigger artist who maybe can get 2,000 people into a stream. And they want to get to that room, and then you get to that room, and then you want 5,000, and you go from there. But I think you said something really profound in that value not being fully appreciated and fully shown just by looking at specific data metrics. Before we dive in, because I really want to dive into the Even platform too. We'll do that in a few moments, my friends. All these different use cases for the artists. I'll stop teasing you folks, I swear. But before we do, I want to talk to Brian about the label perspective. Like, what kind of gaps are you seeing that Even is kind of like filling in, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, so kind of to piggyback off of what Mag was saying, I mean, if we get 50 people in a room or in a space, those 50 that are willing to show up, how are we rewarding them? How are we connecting with them, right? And I think streaming gives access, but not intimacy. And I think that's a core piece of kind of our strategy, because we want them to become advocates of the artist. We want the fans themselves to be marketing legs in a way. I mean, if you think about a traditional fan funnel, you have awareness at the top, and we've got social media influencer campaigns, we've got press, seeding, but at the bottom for loyalty and advocacy, where's the infrastructure? You see what I'm saying? So I think what it did for us is it created a space where we could have that infrastructure. We have the ability to have infrastructure and create a space of intimacy with the fans, which again gives them marketing legs. I think three specific things is obviously fan data. We can identify what fans are the most engaged and the most excited about Lecrae's new release coming out. And we can actually reward them with surprises, with tour tickets, with vinyls. We have their addresses. So having that fan data is like so important. Obviously the revenue piece, finding brand new ways to monetize core fans. Who are your most loyal supporters, right? And we get to do that with Avalanche and Even by offering digital rewards on the workshop, is what Lecrae's Even fan club is called. And then of course, just advocacy. So those three things I think really solidify, the value that it brings to us as a label and to Lecrae's core fan base, which we didn't have. We had email, we have SMS, we have a lot of different ways to connect with fans, but to put it in a place that they feel like, oh my gosh, I can find community. Because we're not just trying to, one thing that we say at Reach is like, we're not trying to build community. We want to facilitate community, because that's really when it has power and strength. Does that make sense? We want to connect people with each other. So that's where we see success.
100% agree. And I actually want to talk to you a little bit about your approach, kind of like that strategy. Because, obviously Even is a fairly new platform. How did you approach kind of developing the entire strategy for kind of rolling things out via the platform?
Yeah. So obviously we have the pre-order, which is kind of the core pillar that sets everything else up. But honestly, fans can access a lot of rewards and incentives just for being a part of the community. One of the things that Lecrae was really excited about was gamifying the website. And so one of the, again, core pillars of functions of the site is that we created a points-based reward system that made supporting Lecrae's album feel fun and valuable. And then fans receive, let's say, 5,000 points for buying the album. And as they watch videos, as they share the album or buy it for a friend, they can continue to gain points. What's so cool is that creates a sense of gamification, a sense of community, that they continue to return to the website over weeks and weeks. And it's not just a one-stop pre-order or buy the album one time and forget about it. Like, we see fans continue to engage almost every day with some of our top fans. It seems like it's what they do in the morning, you know? So that's kind of how we did it. And yeah, they get rewards, you know, in partnership with even Avalanche. We are able to reward fans with digital activations and rewards so that they continue to engage. And honestly, it was a way to recognize and activate Lecrae's most engaged fans and give them a pathway to feel like they're part of something bigger. And that's exactly the kind of like fan intimacy that we're going for. So it's been very fun.
Right.
It's one of the most wholesome chats, guys. If you ever have a moment, just go. It's workshop.lecrae.com, and every morning, like top of the morning, is just like, I hope everyone has a great day. They're in there tagging each other, and it's like, it's beautiful to see. And also every community is so different. You know, I think this community in particular is like, they're getting to know each other, and it's become a little competitive too, because there's a point system where the more you engage with the platform, the more points you get. And there's these like 3 fans who are like going head to head to see who's going to get the most points. And it's like, you know, the top fan has 61,000 points right now. So, and, you know, and every time it unlocks something, it unlocks an additional award on the platform, which again, I think it's really exciting to see how those fans are, you know, finding ways to engage. And it ties back to our ethos as a company, where your traditional artist website is static. You go, you buy, and you leave. And with Even, it's really about showing up, buying, engaging over and over again. And it makes it easier for teams, you know, or, you know, partners like Brian to get a sense of like, you know, maybe one of these fans doesn't have a ton of like disposable income that they can just like buy everything, but they're there every single day. Who is this fan? How can we incentivize them beyond just, you know, what we're offering? And I think that offers that opportunity for teams to get a sense a little bit deeper than just like another number and another stream on a dashboard. It's like, who is the person behind the screen that's happy to be here and more than willing to, you know, engage? Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I wanted to also add, I think like a misconception with those in the music industry who just come across see Even as just kind of this paywall for artists to drop music. But I think what Brian had mentioned and what Mag and team have built specifically with Lecrae really shows what can be built with the infrastructure that Even provides. It's much more than just a single touch point one time with an artist, like Brian had mentioned, and some of the things they're doing, right? The gamification of it, actually powering like the shop and the merch, trivia, you know, racking up points, digital rewards. I think the scope of the platform that Even provides is so much more. And so that's why it's exciting to see a team like Brian and Reach and Lecrae lean into the possibility of what Even actually can provide artists. And even beyond that, what I'm excited for, and I was talking to Meg about, you know, a week or two ago, is looking a year or two down the line to where, you know, this can be applied across, you know, all artists or entertainment, right? Like, I totally see a world where athletes or sports teams can come in and utilize this infrastructure to create a better user, fan artist experience from that industry too. So I think what's really exciting about this specific Lecrae activation, it's really opening up what can be done from both the artist perspective, but also for, you know, future, folks to see what the platform can really enable.
No, and to that point too, I won't take up too much time. I think what's really fascinating too is it also helps, I think, our partners. You know, one of the biggest issues that I hear teams, or one of the biggest pain points is like, the artists that I'm working with isn't just an artist, right? And I think in music, there's always this like misconception that artists are just musicians, right? Because Lecrae isn't just a musician, you know, that's just one of maybe a couple dozen things that he does in his everyday, you know, career as an entertainer, educator. You know, I mean, there's so many pieces that I think if you kind of try to box it into one piece, that I think is always really fascinating to kind of get a sense of, especially with the partners that we work with, where like even helps unlock additional verticals where you can bring people in for the thing that they know you, but then highlight other pieces of who you are and what you want to do with your business and your community. And of course, naturally, we're going to attract, and we attract them every day, right? These non-music creators that want to use the platform. And I think that is definitely a part of our roadmap. But yeah, I think that's been really interesting to see how they can leverage the platform beyond just music. Hopefully that makes sense.
One thing I also want to spotlight as well is I watch a lot of different just kind of music industry podcasts, Joe Budden's podcast to be more specific. And a lot of times they talk about how artists release music and then by the next day the hype is on to whatever the next release is. But then Brian, using Even, you've developed a strategy whereby the community is actually continuously coming back. They're returning to the website to continue to interact with the artists. And you're showing a true example of how engagement with your fans can actually bring more success to your artistry, to your project overall, or and then your fans can feel like they've also gotten more out of, you know, whatever piece of art that you've actually put out, as opposed to a lot of times where the drop happens, we listen to the song, we listen to the album one time, and then another album comes out the next day, and you kind of just keep going to shift. You just shift over to the next album. So I think that's a really beautiful thing. Before I kind of ramble on too much, actually, Jake, I do want to talk about kind of like how the like blockchain infrastructure aspect is kind of like sewed into this whole thing. Like, can you talk a little bit about how blockchain kind of works with Even?
Yeah, and maybe can kick it over to Mag for his viewpoint from the, you know, kind of day to day as well. But I think, you know, what Avalanche enables, right, is really backend infrastructure for Even, as well as the way I see it, most other consumer applications. And in order to do so, I think there's a few things that, you know, we needed to provide as, you know, kind of the foundation. One is a blockchain that's developer friendly, so that teams like Third Web, who I think Mag and Even uses, can come on and provide these you know, foundational tools to really abstract away all of the blockchain complexity. So I think that's number one from the perspective of you know, kind of where Avalanche comes in. And then the second is obviously with any type of use case like this, what's really important from a technology and blockchain perspective is speed, scalability, and easeability. And so to be able to provide quick transactions, you know, cheap transactions, and reliability to that, you know, this is going to be working when you have an artist like Lecrae coming on and dropping music. So I think those are where, you know, Avalanche really shines from the back end. In terms of specifically here with Even, and then I'll kick it to Mag if he wants to touch on anything, is really providing you know, kind of token gated experiences when you purchase music that really authenticates that you did purchase this, you can access this content. And then, as Brian and Mag touched upon, really starting to provide digital rewards, a tracking system, more of kind of on-chain loyalty. And there's some other exciting use cases that I don't know if I'm supposed to spoil or not, so I'll leave that to Mag. But yeah, I don't know, Mag, if you want to add anything else from kind of the blockchain side.
Yeah, I think for us, like, you know, I always joke around that like everything we use blockchain for is like not sexy at all. It's like all the boring stuff. And I think for us, it's like since day one, we've never wanted to like lead with speculation around the product. Like I say this often, it's like we care, you know, how it works fans care that it works. So, I think for us, it's like a core part of how we think about the product and the offering. Like the honest truth is like building on chain allowed us to ship our MVP and beta extremely rapidly in the marketplace where like instead of having to build a full infrastructure, we just relied on a chain. And I think for us too, it's like we're very bullish on like the future of the space. One of the things that keeps me up at night on most days is making sure that we can pay artists daily from around the world. And we have artists in over 110 countries. So planting those seeds of like, for example, when you create an account, you see fan and then a really long code. And that's really their wallet, address, and being able to like, we don't tell them that, but over time we can kind of peel back some of those layers. And, our vision in 5 years is everyone knows that they're interacting on chain, but it was more as like a aha moment than it was like I am going to even because it's an on-chain platform. And that's really ultimately the vision for us. So paying artists is really a core part of it. So we'll be introducing, this probably as much as I can spoil, we're introducing USDC payouts for artists from around the world. I think that's like a really core part of the vision of even just around like payouts. But then on the back end, introducing everything on chain for our partners. So everything from total streams to views and how that converts, being able to have a trackable format where all of it can be tracked on chain for our partners. Currently, we rely a lot of times when artists and teams see streams or they view engagement across like a streaming platform, that's data that's being transferred over to them that's not in real time. So it's really hard to kind of get a sense of like how verified was this data, and for our partners to get a sense that this data is truly verifiable on chain on our own L1 is really a core part of how we're thinking about the product long term. Again, not sexy at all, very boring, but for us, it's truly ultimately, the biggest and the most exciting use cases of blockchain is security, authentication, and then being able to be, offer transparent data to our partners. So again, hopefully that makes sense. I know this community is a little bit more knowledgeable of the space, so I think this probably did make sense to everyone. But yeah, no, sorry to the folks who are like, where's the speculation? I think all of those layers, they're not a part of the product at the moment.
No, you crushed it, Meg. And the USDC payout was the thing I was excited about. I don't know if we're going there or not, but obviously you mentioned already today you have the ability to pay out in various ways and take pride in doing so in a quick manner. And so obviously USDC payouts just really made sense to continue down that roadmap. So that's something that I'm excited to see roll out in the next X amount of months. So that's fun. That's gonna be awesome.
I don't know, man. You said USD payouts aren't sexy, but I don't know, man. I think the artist is gonna think it's super sexy.
I think for us, the joke is always that like artists went from being paid every 2 to 3 months from streaming to then being paid daily with even. Now the next layer is getting paid instantly after every transaction. But the truth is 60 to 90 days against 1 day is already game changer alone. That like introducing, daily to real-time payments, I think transparently, I don't think artists and teams are really going to feel it. Believe it or not, we spend most of our time chasing people to pay them because they're just not used to being paid that fast. So it is, again, for us, it's really about building at a pace that the industry is ready for. But it is exciting primarily for our global artists where there's certain artists that like getting a bank account that we can transfer money to as seamless as like someone in Canada or Europe. It's a little bit more complex. So introducing that USDC payout in a way that's compliant and regulated, I think, without, raising a bunch of flags to partners, I think is a core part. And I think that's why a lot of folks are bullish on USDC. And actually this is interesting. When we started even, we were actually in USDC. So fans were paying in USDC, and then we were paying our partners in USDC. So that was a core part of our MVP. But when we had to like build out, the back end of even for our partners, we transitioned into fiat, and then now the rails are still there to be able to go back into it. So it's kind of like a full circle moment for us to be able to introduce it. And also it just shows where the market is maturing. In 3 years, my mom knows what USDC is now. 3 years ago, like, what is this imaginary money that you're talking about? So yeah, hopefully that.
My uncle talks to me about crypto. He doesn't know too much, but he talks to me about it every single Thanksgiving. And I always look forward to it because I use him as kind of like a gauge on what the mentality of like normal folks are like. Okay, like, what are you saying to me now? Okay, that's the mindset nowadays. Okay, cool. We're getting there. So last time we got to Bitcoin is like digital gold with him. Boom, we're getting somewhere. Next time, hopefully he's talking to me about even. Brian, I'm going to pitch it over to you because you've obviously built this like huge kind of framework now, right, for kind of artist releases. Can you talk to me a bit about how even is kind of changing up your release strategy kind of moving forward into the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like this world has exploded, like this bottom of funnel, core fan activation and monetizing them is now so accessible and easy for us to do that now we're intentionally thinking through how do we facilitate and make fans feel really seen, and give them exclusive content that that's really gonna bring value to their lives, because Lecrae's hip hop is faith-based. There's a deeper meaning and message that fans connect to, and we're starting to see that happen in the chat as well. And with that, I feel like to be able to build out personal experiences for those fans, like I said, we have the leaderboard and we have the fan data. So for Lecrae to surprise them with a direct mailer in the mail and send them something in the mail, to hop on a FaceTime call with Lecrae as a reward, as a surprise, for engaging on the community, like that is priceless to a fan. Give your fans something to remember. That's what we're trying to do. And so to just be intentional about thinking through that, building it into our marketing plan, along with the influencer strategy, along with the press seeding, along with the paid ads. That is where we're headed. And it's really cool to see that on the business side of it, it's like fans will actually pay for things that they find valuable. I'm so grateful to know that, we as humans in a culture of instant gratification still value art. And I think a lot of labels and artists would be surprised to see that they are willing to pay. They're willing to show up at your tours. They're willing to pre-order, so long as you're feeding that connection. And that's what we've been trying to do. So yeah, creating those personal touch points and the new revenue streams, and strengthen that fan connection, which I think will far surpass this album rollout. We have intention to continue to work with Even, and make it a long-term standing community that Lecrae always will have those fans ready to go for whatever he wants to share with them or add value to their lives. So we're really excited about that.
And Brian, can we talk about the gifting stuff? Or
yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's always surprising to our partners is not only that fans are willing to pay, but they're also willing to gift. Like we have fans who have gifted this dozens of times to other fans. So not only are they buying their own copy, but then they go and they buy a copy for all of their friends. And we found ways to build kind of like a layer of, for example, if you gift an album on Even, you get a badge that differentiates you. And all of that is happening on chain for us. But again, we never really lead with it. And, I think in the space 2 years ago, there was a lot of conversations around utility and, and buying this quote unquote NFT, and it gave you this thing. And I think for us, it's like, we can do all of that without ever calling it that, and just doing it in a way that feels intentional. These fans are going above and beyond because they're happy to be there, and they want to make sure that everyone in their close circle gets to experience it with them. And it's been great to see some of that feedback roll in with fans who didn't pay, that they just received it as a gift, and all of a sudden saying like, oh my God, like I'm kind of upset I didn't pay for this. So now they gift it to someone else, and then those effects continue to happen. So that to us is always ends up being the most exciting part, where it kind of turns into kind of like a gifting cycle. And again, we've seen this in other layers of consumer, but being able to do it through the vertical of like music and community, I think is really fascinating.
Well, also, Mag, I will share that when it comes to the gifting, we've been so surprised to see that, and so grateful to see those people actually funnel into the community themselves after they're gifted the album. And I ran a poll on LinkedIn recently asking, think of your favorite artist, and I want you to let me know how you found your favorite artist. And the top answer across the board was a friend told me about it. Word of mouth still. So to think that we have that capability to gift it to somebody and to see them funnel into the community as well, it's like we're not changing what's already working. We're just supporting it with the right infrastructure. You see what I'm saying? So that's been a really encouraging aspect for us.
100%, especially because I was pulling up just like the back end, and like 5 minutes ago, we had a fan who gifted it to 4 friends. And it's like, it's great because you can see the data, and it's like one fan gifts, and then immediately they start gifting it to a bunch of people after. So it's again, it just kind of shows what our product team has actually been working on this for the past couple of weeks, how we can automate, like if you want to gift it to more than one person, instead of having to do it manually every time, allowing you to like I want to gift this to 20 people in one time. Which I know it sounds crazy to say, but like we actually saw fans do that.
Yeah. It's a great problem to have.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good problem to have. And that was some of the feedback that those same fans requested, was like, I wish I can gift this to more people in one go. Which again, I think just shows truly like the demand in the market for fans who want to, engage and bring their friends along.
So real quick, just for the folks out there who may be wanting to get involved, let's say I'm an artist and I'd like to start using Even. How can I get involved right now?
Yeah, so the best and easiest way is to reach out to your distributor or label. So we work with everything from like independent labels like Reach Records all the way up to, everyday self-releasing distributors like a United Masters. We have as of last week, we now have 3,000 labels and distributors across all of our the network. Out of those labels and distributors, there's about 9 million artists accessible. So there's a pretty high chance that we are already partnered with your label or distributor. You just have to reach out to them. We're hoping to really expedite the process where every artist can have access to the platform. And thankfully we have the infrastructure to do so, but we just launched out of beta April of last year. So we've been in the market for about 15 months. So we're still fairly new out of beta. But yes, so I would say that's the easiest way. And that's as simple as just reaching out to customer support on your distributor. The other option is just going directly to the Even website and creating an account and joining our wait list. That can also help expedite, if we're already partnered with your label or distributor, that can help expedite the process on our side. But we usually recommend that as like a step 2. And the reason why we do it this way, because I know that's usually like the follow-up question, is like, why can't artists just go to Even, create an account and release? I think for us, transparently, we're really focused on making sure that there's a human on the other side. I think there's a lot of noise right now with like AI music. And although we're not necessarily as people, we're not anti-AI music. I think for the infrastructure that we're building, we want to make sure that we're supporting creators first. And that means supporting artists first. So there's this level of authentication that needs to happen on the other side. And the best way to do so is by doing it through a label or distributor. These are businesses that have been doing it, like Reach Records, for 20 years. They have a system, they have a support system, but ultimately you can also unlock additional resources. The amount of artists that come through some of our like indie self-releasing distributors and go on to make $5, $10, $20,000 on the platform, but they've never made that amount of money from streaming. And all of a sudden, the distributor and the label gets excited because they're like, there's clearly something happening here that's not reflecting on streaming. We probably can help you grow this now on the streaming side as well. And that to us is the exciting factor, where we're catching moments sooner than streaming because social is moving at a faster rate than streaming. And being able to convert by using Even's turnkey, infrastructure is ultimately the thing that, is opening doors for more and more creators. And it goes back to our ethos, right? Where it's not even or streaming, it's even and streaming. And ultimately it grows the pie. We have a bunch of data now showing that like a release on Even can actually help amplify your streaming numbers, especially at the early stages. And of course, when you're a bigger artist, it creates FOMO. When a new Spider-Man movie goes out, you see all the other Spider-Man movies in the charts on Netflix and Hulu. You see those same elements, and it creates momentum, conversation, and all of that is driven by community. The community of fans, they become your marketing driver. They talk about the releases. I love seeing Lecrae fans, showing the mailers on social media, like, oh my God, look, I got access to his album first, because that drives that momentum and that conversation. So I think, again, we become another tool. We're not we're not everything to everyone. We're more so another tool that can help amplify and ease a lot of the friction when it comes to, building out your direct to fan business.
And the proof is in the pudding, my friend. The proof is in the pudding. Like this is like I'm super happy that we spoke about this today, just because I learned a lot about kind of Brian, you're kind of bringing in kind of the new wave of artist releases, because you've kind of flipped the script a little bit. Like I feel like the script got flipped to artist release, and then we move on to now we're going to have this kind of continued engagement with the fan, even could be weeks, months, years after, just based on what I'm seeing from the platform so far and like how the fans are engaging with it so far. So hats off to everyone over at Even for what you folks have built. Hats off over to Reach Records for pioneering this thing. Hats off to Jake. Shout out to Jake for big Avalanche vibes, repping Avalanche hard, and helping out with the team. And I want to open things up because we're kind of coming up on time here. So I want to open things up for some closing responses. And I'm going to pick on you first, Jake. You got any closing responses for the people out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of touched upon what I touched upon earlier is what excites me, right? Is I think clients and folks are starting to realize the power of what Even is building, and that's gonna move to outside of just like specific music focused in my mind. Like I see that very clearly happening. I also appreciate being in these conversations with Brian. I was in another conversation with a record label in New York with Mag a few months ago, and seeing the direct impact it's having from the teams themselves who are using the platform really amplifies the meaning of what Even is providing. And so those are the conversations that really excite me. And so obviously, more and more I'm excited to see artists like Lecrae, like the J. Cole's, who's also, kind of already, released something on Even, kind of move and change the way how artists and creatives think about dropping music and connecting with their fans. And then obviously on the flip side too, what Even does is amazing for like Meg said, the 86% that may not be kind of the mainstream folks that make a ton of money from streaming. So I'm just really excited to see the platform continue to expand and grow, because I think there's just a ton of potential. So that's my closing remarks.
Appreciate you so much, Jake. And I'm gonna pitch it over to Brian here for your closing remarks.
Yeah. I mean, just shout out to everybody on this call and the teams that they represent. We've been so grateful to work with them and really create a connection a connection space for our fans to see them re-engage in a way that I don't think we've seen at this level or with this kind of diversified revenue. But I think one of the biggest takeaways from me, like launching this campaign, and there will be more to come, believe me, is just that I think when you prioritize relationship over reach, you will see the value. You will see the value in it. I think for fans, for labels and artists to be intentional about that kind of infrastructure, I think is going to be really important in the future if they want to have long-term careers with and sustainability that not only is sustainable, but also impacts lives for the better. I mean, at Reach Records, we're trying to bring redemptive work to a broken world. And I think that's one of our biggest ethos, you know? And so I think what we've seen with Lecrae's rollout is that when you're intentional about how you facilitate community, inviting them into the mission, rewarding their support, it doesn't just boost engagement, it builds trust, loyalty, legacy, and advocacy for the releases and the artists. So I feel like Even has definitely been the tool that has helped us do that. And not by giving us another sales channel, but by helping us see and serve our most dedicated fans in a really intentional way. So, you know, for me, my encouragement would be don't build campaigns, you know, build connection with your fans and build intimacy with them, because that will never go away. It's deeply human about us. And I think that's why it works.
100%.
Bars. Those were bars, Brian. I'm stealing so much of that. I'm stealing so much of that, man. This is recorded. That was incredible. That was a master class on how you should think about rollouts. Wow.
We got to be intentional about it, you know, and I think it's not failing us. So I'm excited about what the future has at Reach and for all artists who choose to go this route.
And thank you so much, Brian. And Mag, bring us home, my friend. You got any closing remarks for the people?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to take this time to say thank you to, you know, of course, Jake and the Avalanche team. I think, you know, we met the team 2 years ago, and I was trying to find in my email a big shout out to the Dexalot team. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
You got it right.
Yeah. They got introduced to, well, one of my advisors at Even, but also one of my best friends. He's good friends with the team over there. And before we launched our MVP, he actually introduced us to the Avalanche team, and they were bullish on what we were building back then. And I think being able to partner with a company, and again, I'm not being paid to say this, I actually mean this, being able to partner with, you know, a team that understands that being intentional across the board is more important than trying to move really fast. I think is really important, and the team has been extremely patient. And I'll take that moment to also say big thank you to the Reach team. Brian, you know, Even's a new company. There was so many steps along the way that there was a lot of learnings, and being able to work with a team that can give us, you know, a new company grace and offer an opportunity to learn. Like ultimately the product only gets better when people, you know, make a bet on Even. So a big shout out to Brian and Dee and Lecrae and team, and of course the Even team. I'm speaking about this like I was involved. This is all, you know, Lisa, Selena, Damien, Bridget, Valeria, everyone from the team who, of course, our product team, you know, now I got to say everyone's name, guys. Valentina. You know, it was really,
guys.
It was really a joint effort. I think, especially for campaigns like this, we really go all in. Not that we have to, but I think for us, it's more so these are those moments that define the platform, and it makes the product so much better. This point system that we built for Lecrae was something that we had been talking about for a long time, playing around with, and finding the right partner to introduce that with. It defines the future of the platform. You will see that in the next 12 months, really, you will see that point system across all of our releases for the ones that want to opt into it, because it really changes the way that fans engage in a way that doesn't feel corny or like too much. It's designed to be really intentional, you know, to the fans. So again, big shout out to everyone involved. This has been one of my favorite campaigns, and when you get a chance, go pre-order the album. It's arguably, it's not even arguably, I actually think it's one of the best, if not the best album of the year. So just an honor to be involved, and don't take my word for it. You know, just Google Lecrae, and you will see it. Everyone's talking about this album. So yeah, happy to be here.
Super happy to have you, my friend. I want to just say thank you, folks, so much for being willing to pop on today and talk about how we're kind of pushing artists forward as far as engagement is concerned, and as far as just helping make the overall lives easier, as far as for the fan and for the artist. So thank you guys so much, man, for what you built. Brian, thank you so much for pioneering the thing. Jakes, thank you so much for being on the Avalanche side and kind of helping out push things kind of forward. And man, I'm just really, really excited for what the future kind of holds for Even and for artists in general. Once these kind of once Even platform kind of starts getting super duper mainstream, everyone's starting to use it. I'm very, very excited, my friend. We got some really, really good use cases for it. And I'm sure everyone out there is just very excited for it as well. So for everyone out there, thank you folks so much for being willing to pop on today. Check out this discussion. If you tuned in late, don't you worry. Don't you worry. I'll have this thing up on Spotify and the Apple Podcast very, very soon, probably within like 24 hours. So you can check it out there. Or as soon as I hit end button, you can go ahead and rewatch the stream live, because you don't want to miss any of the information that these fine folks talked about today, my friends. So again, everyone, thank you so much for coming. And I'm going to end this thing by simply just saying peace.
Thanks, guys.